New details on Starfield reveal insights into the game's characters, worlds, factions, and potentially even side quests. In this video then, we're going to get a glimpse into the drug-addled city of Neon on the water world of Valley Alpha, Aquila City, the capital of the Freestar Collective, as well as the game's biggest city, New Atlantis, which Bethesda claim is the largest city they've ever created. Also, a massive thank you to everyone who continues to support this channel, it's very much appreciated. And if you feel you'd like to help out or feel you'd like to join, then please do check out the Patreon links in the video description below. Let's start then with the video on Valley Alpha. This is an interesting world because it is an ocean world, and this is something we haven't seen in any gameplay footage so far. Now, one thing you've probably noticed straight away is all of these videos take on animated form. So that means all of these are short, but nonetheless they do give us insight into Starfield's worlds and the galaxy. So this is Neon City on the ocean planet of Valley Alpha, and as you saw, it is a pleasure city. And that entails pretty much everything you might expect, including drugs being completely illegal here. In fact, illicit material and perhaps illicit activity form a major part of Neon City's economy, and that means any players who are interested in a criminal-based gameplay are likely to find Neon City appealing, not too unlike Riften in Skyrim, that cesspit of criminal activity, along with its association with the Thieves Guild. Now, the characters we can see on screen here are called Ada and Harper. And as you would have noticed a moment ago, Ada has a dream of joining Rugin Industries, the mega corporation that controls Neon City. Fortunately, or perhaps unfortunately, she's now presented with a moral dilemma that really gives her the opportunity to join that faction. Her partner, Harper, very clearly wants to make short work of this character right here, who works for Rugin Industries. Ada, meanwhile, has other plans and wants to assist him. This very likely gives us some sort of insight as to how side quests and those sort of activities may play out within Starfield. And this isn't too dissimilar really to what we've seen in Fallout 4, 3, as well as Skyrim and Oblivion. That is, opportunities and situations which lead to a variety of different outcomes for the player. In this case, Ada gets to join Rugin Industries thanks to assisting one of their members. And it's equally likely that things could have gone a very different way if she had decided to attack that character. Now, the very interesting thing about Starfield's factions, as well as all of other Bethesda's single-player titles, is that, well, these factions make up a significant part of the game. Skyrim had 15 different factions you could join, whilst Fallout 4 had 4 factions. And in some of those cases, you could rise to the top and become a leader. The story is going to be slightly different with Starfield. You can join all the variety of factions that the game has to offer, but you won't necessarily be able to rise to the top and lead all of them. However, that said, it has been confirmed that your decisions will have far-reaching consequences, both for the factions as well as potentially as those decisions ripple out into the galaxy. Now, this video focuses on the character Kent as he joins the Vanguard, the military arm of the United Colonies. Now, the United Colonies tends to have a more expansionist and militaristic view of life in the settled worlds. They slowly want to expand to some of the more lesser controlled star systems, expanding their, empire, their United Colonies. And perhaps some of the methods they use to achieve that is demonstrated in this video. They're very much focused on combat. That quite clearly results in its pilots earning a whole chunk of cash. Now, right here, we see that Kent has moved up from having a run-down, battered old ship to living in a wonderful apartment with an amazing view. Does this mean that players will be able to rent or even own apartments and houses? We'll have to see. After all, let's not forget that the game also features base building, so yeah, it might make owning apartments a little bit redundant. Either way, we can see right here that Kent has upgraded and enhanced his ship. It now looks in a pretty nice condition, doesn't it, compared to how it started out. So all of that gives us a bit of insight into another playstyle for Starfield, which of course is combat-centric. Now, interestingly, it seems each of these locations as well as these playstyles also have an associated backstory. For example, if you wanted to join the United Colonies, you could always choose the United Colonies native backstory. And this all gives some added depth to your character during a character building. Now, the third story takes us to Aquila City, the capital of the Freestar Collective. Now, the Freestar Collective is much more of a freedom-loving people. They believe in independence and individuality. And it seems that much of this was very hard won. We get a glimpse of the previous wars. As you can see, that war involved mechs. And mechs are something we see in the background of some of the Starfield gameplay footage. Now, as far as we know, we can't actually pilot these. After all, Bethesda have confirmed that there's no ground vehicles in Starfield. But just maybe, mechs don't class as ground vehicles. I guess we'll have to see. Either way, we get another glimpse here of how side quests and maybe even encounters may potentially play out. Now, in terms of this little video story, this animated short, the character Varna takes this as an opportunity to get payment in the form of a part, a component for her ship. But in a broader sense, as we step back and look at Starfield as a whole, this may well represent how encounters and perhaps even side quests play out. After all, we've seen exactly this type of thing many times before, both in Skyrim as well as Fallout 3 and 4. Those very memorable moments where you're simply roaming through the countryside and come across a prisoner exchange. Or maybe you find a bandit sitting at their camp, or even a trader who's lost and needs help. Either way, this is a huge part of what makes Bethesda's single-player games very much feel living and breathing, and yet even alive. It seems then, based upon what we're seeing here, that Starfield is going to follow very much the same premise, and this, as far as I'm concerned, is fantastic and exactly what I was hoping for. And that is the idea that you can take on whatever approach to life that you want within the game world. Now, another thing I found very interesting about these animated shorts is how clearly they illustrate the difference in the quality of life, the difference in environments between the different factions and the different star systems. From the crime-ridden streets of Neon City to the bold and beautiful New Atlantis, which seems filled with, well, perhaps friendly people, but may be extremely controlled top-down. And then the look at Aquila City in the Freestar Collective, which feels very much like a wild frontier, not too dissimilar to the Wild West. The place is very obviously lawless, at least to some extent, but at the same time there seems to be a lot of personal freedom and liberty there. All of this then seems to tell us and suggest that the background story within Starfield isn't just merely background story, but is also very much present within the game worlds themselves. It's something that we as players can interact with and perhaps even directly affect. And as expected from this type of Bethesda title, it also suggests that, well, it's very much about freedom and choosing your own destiny. Now, it's only around about 5 weeks or so until Starfield finally releases, not too long away, and just maybe we'll get a few more of these videos along the way, just before the game arrives, so certainly worth keeping an eye out for all of that. At any rate, do let me know what you think about all of this in the comments section below. I'd love to hear from you. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.